or third time when you're trying to assimilate the information. And I just found with this one, I'm taking it a little bit different and just pausing each time he goes through one of his things and applying it to where I'm sitting currently. And so I've really enjoyed it. I'm finding it kind of reflective and helpful.
Interesting. I might have to pick that up. Thanks.
I
All
got
right.
it used from
Oops, go ahead.
Amazon.
Sorry. I'm ready. Okay, so thanks. Thanks for those of you that are on the call. So we'll definitely be mindful of your time. But I was sharing with Teresa a couple of things, and then we'll get into recapping this because there's one specific thing I want to call out about compliance and the change in compliance. But first of all, if you guys attended specifically the tech portion of the KW kind of highlights from family reunion, one of the things that Robert and I talked about and or shared was the video presentations. Remember that one of the high producing agents had started doing the video presentations or the listing presentations, let me be clear. So in this week's Week at a Glance, he didn't give me the listing presentation, but he gave me a recording that kind of goes through the kind of high level touch points. And so that will be on this Week's at a Glance. I already uploaded it, so you'll get that Friday. And then you can also join his Facebook group, which I'll put that link in the Week at a Glance as well. So I wanted to call out that. But then the other thing in terms of a testimonial, the videos do work. And so for me, on my stuff that I do outside of KW, I actually created a short little video about common questions that people ask me on the staging side. So I called them, or I created the playlist called Designs on Command, or Designs on Demand. And then Details on Demand. And because the name is Little Details, the name of my company. So then the first edition was just a quick little video because most common question is, how much does staging cost? So I basically asked the question, answered the question in about 2 minutes or under. And within 24 hours, I had a little under 400 people that had watched it. So, those little snippets do matter and people do respond to them. So I just wanted to encourage you that, if you want to do something like that, it does work. The other thing that I wanted to be clear about was when we talked about last Tuesday for the email templates, remember those in terms of going into MailChimp, copying the HTML, and then putting it into Command, you actually can still edit all of that information. So don't feel like you have to get it 100%. I wanted to be clear about that. You don't have to get it 100%. Once you transfer it to Designs and Command, i.e. email, and you want to make changes, as long as it transitions, and it should, if you're copying the code correctly, it should embed into an element, just like the widgets. You know how you can rearrange the widgets? You simply just click on it and you should be able to edit it any way you want to. So I just wanted to be clear about that. So the reason why I had this slide up is just to reinforce as it relates to how to get paid in Command, just to reiterate that green sheets are in better pastures. And so we're using the Offer and Commissions tab. If you have any questions about the tab itself, the functionality, reach out to Robert or I. And then specific questions as it relates to information, the data from the sale, that would go to your broker. And then compliance. The one change that you'll probably start hearing of, so I'm kind of giving you a FYI, is originally it was 5 days in terms of the compliance that you needed or your TC needs to get to Rob. Now we're asking for 10 days. And the reason is because Rob now is doing all compliance in terms of island. So he's doing, Kauai, for the agents that are on Kauai. He's doing also Maui and Oahu. So he needs more time to go through that and to make sure he gets things back to you in a timely manner. So you'll start seeing communication about that, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. So comments or questions before we get started? Anything people want to share? All right, so I'm going to reshare and get right into today. And here. Can you see my screen, my Zoom? Okay, so just want to make sure that I'm sharing the right thing. Okay, so design. So last time we specifically focused on email and landing pages. So now what we want to do is tackle the social, print, and agent sites. So let's go into social. And so within social, you may have to move the Zoom people, but definitely to the bottom right, the teal circle, the plus sign, we want to do next. And then from there, we're going to go into WeBrand. So WeBrand is the separate platform that's still connected into Command. And I want to call out this specific thing. So we're going to get into our templates in just a minute, but we covered in general the templates, my designs. Remember, we talked about how to add your folders to help keep you organized. And then the thing that we didn't talk about that I want to highlight now is brand assets. So this is key. So if you haven't been to this section, or let me take a step back. How many of you have been into this brand assets category? Okay, so this is a great tip for you. So if you find yourself utilizing a lot of logos or images, again and again, you keep adding them, what you can do is go into the logos specifically for you guys, and you can upload all of the logos. So when you're in designs, you don't have to upload it. You'll immediately go to your brand assets and those logos will already be there. No matter what design you use, no matter what you're doing, you'll be able to pretty much plug and play or drag and drop in this case. And you don't have to go in and like hit upload, go find it and all that stuff. So it's just a time saver. You can do that with smart text if there's certain text that you want to have. Like especially this would be amazing to make sure that you have all of your, your phone number, your email, all of that stuff. Go in and add those fields. Images, if there's certain images that you want, especially for example, if you have a listing that that you want to really target, then maybe there's some key photos or something that you're using or whatever the case may be. You can add those images and elements, videos. So this is a time-saving tip. Go into brand assets, things that you're gonna use quite frequently. This is gonna save you time. So valuable, invaluable, what do you think about that tip? Okay, all right. So now let's go back into templates. So we're gonna cover today the KW app. Then we're going to look at business basics, and then we're going to look at collections. Next week, we will bring this series to an end and we'll focus on the listing, the buyer, and some other things. But these are the ones that we're going to cover today. So KW app, let's get in here. So KW app, and thank you. My brain just reminded me. I owe you guys information. Remember, I think it was Bonnie that talked about a guide for social media. So I'm going to share that with you too before we leave. And then I also have some websites for you. So the app. So anytime you are looking to promote your app, whether you're a new or seasoned agent, it's always good to do a refresher about your app, just keeping top of mind, that kind of thing. So this is the Square. Square typically is going to be best for Instagram. However, you can still use it in Facebook. So let's say, for example, you wanted to do, tour homes. So then you would go into the app and then you would hit use. And then depending on how fast your internet is, it'll. So then here, remember, we talked about the branded assets. So these were my assets that I already put in there. So again, for you, you make sure you put all those in there. So then that way you don't have to go back to the add button, go here to drag and drop and do all that stuff. So, so here for the KW app, if you wanted to promote this, the first thing, if you wanted to change this out, I just simply selected tour homes. Immediately, it's going to give you kind of your headers, if you will, in terms of what you can do. I know many of you are already in design, so you know, but simply this just tells you the font size. This is the typewriter. That's a best practice for editing. It'll automatically do a pop-up window, and then you can edit this however you want. Then from there, you can change. Let me discard that. So then from there, you can go select the next one, change that out, download my app. You can also change the wording on that. And then if you wanted a different background or if you wanted to add some more stuff, you could do that. So that's kind of the overall tip. And then a couple other things I wanted to call out. So again, images, we talked about that, where you can add images if you wanted. You can add them by going to the bottom, drag and dropping. You can, if you want to connect your Facebook, you can also add stuff from your Facebook. Company is good because company gives you all of this in terms of holidays, house interiors, app images, and so forth and so on. Yes, Teresa.
Let me take off that. This doesn't go as fast. So a couple things where for instance, in this particular one, image, if you look in the lower right-hand corner where it says KW DBA name, would that be your team? Would that be your, like, Keller Williams Realty Maui? Should I change that? You know, when I'm looking at branding, which is the important to get on the Keller Williams Realty Maui and versus my name?
Great question. So I would say this, and I'll do them in buckets or silos, if you will. So I would say, speaking to you, and I know you as an individual agent, I would, you know, obviously from a branding perspective, you definitely want to have the KW, or excuse me, for compliance, you want to have the KW Realty Maui in an individual solo agent case. Then from a branding perspective, I would also have your name. So somewhere else or down there, however you want to do it, I would have your name. So those would be my two recommendations for an individual / solo agent. In the bucket or silo of a team, then the team would need to have, still for compliance, they still would need to have the Keller Williams Realty Maui, and then they need to have their team name on it. So they could do a duality where they have, you know, KW Maui for, or Big Island for compliance purposes. And then also for their, well, let me take a step back, because you could get away with the compliance on the image as long as you are not sending this out just by itself. So let me be clear about that. So let's say, for example, you're sending it out from your Facebook. Assuming that your business Facebook page is already branded with the compliance components to that, then you can just use the KW logo, and or you could simply just use your name. So let me be clear about that. If this was a standalone, then yes, then you would want to add the compliance piece to it. So I want to take a step back from my answer on that. So does that make sense what I'm saying?
Kind of. So you're saying if I'm doing it within my Facebook page, not necessarily my personal page, but my business page or anything where my license and where I work, then I don't have to make sure that every image
Right.
replicates that information.
Right.
But that if I'm putting it, say, out in an ad or an email or whatever, then I need to make sure that it has it.
Exactly, because you can refer people, they know you're in compliance because all of that information is coming. As long as it's coming from a compliance acceptable platform. I guess that would be a better way to say it, meaning that when you're on Facebook and as a business, you're already in compliance because you got your real estate license, you got your status, you got that you're Keller Williams Realty Maui, so there's no need to repeat that. However, if it's going out and you have no control, basically, if you send it out and nobody, they just see you, then they don't know that you're affiliated with Keller Williams. So I just want to make sure that distinction was clear. So
Thank
awesome.
you.
Absolutely. Any other questions about that? Great question though. So then for the sake of time, let's go into another one. So then now we covered the KW app. Let's go into business basics. You have the business cards, letterheads, email signatures. I want to go into social branding. So this one is for like Twitter covers, LinkedIn covers, Facebook covers. So let's go to Facebook. So then, you know, from this, you would go in, you would create or find the one that you want. I've said this before, and it's definitely, I think, merits a repeat. When you are using your Facebook cover, I would encourage you to use this as a soft marketing tool. And what I mean by that is change it up. You know, don't just have one thing static. You know, for example, if you've got a new listing, then change up your Facebook cover, go back in here and add that picture of a listing and, you know, put a call to action on it. Or, you know, celebrate you. If you know, we've got the KW Awards coming up. So if you're going to get an award, then change the Facebook cover and throw out, you know, whatever your accomplishments are. So definitely don't be afraid to do that. So, or I would encourage you to do that. So then you would simply, if you like that one, you would simply select it. And then it'll pop up. You always have the option, especially in a listing, if you wanted to promote a listing, you can go down to the right-hand side, or excuse me, left-hand side, my other right, KWLS, then you would click on that and then you can put in your listing. So you can actually just take, you know, images from that listing and put it directly on there. So that's another way to, you know, just kind of keep top of mind, keep it out there, just another way to market. And I'm sure your clients, assuming they're on board with you doing that, because some clients, you know, for whatever reason, they don't want the advertisement, and that's fine. But those that do want it, that's just another way for you to help that client help you get it sold. So that would be one thing I want to call out. And then we're going to go to, I'm going to add one, luxury. This is a new one. So we talked about this before, but you have access to the luxury designs. So look in here and see what you want, even though it says luxury, like flyers are in here. There's social squares. So let me go back on flyers. So these are really cool. So, you know, look at these and see if those speak to you in terms of the overall aesthetic or design. So it's here for you. So use it. You know, even if you're not in luxury, take advantage. They definitely have that more modern, crisp feel. If that's, you know, something you like, then definitely, you know, click on those. You can change it out. But these are really cool flyers, in my opinion, to be edited, that you can edit. So comments or questions about that? Let me back up. Has anyone used luxury for their own, even though you may not necessarily be luxury? So I would say definitely get in here and see, you know, just listed for sale. They've got some really cool stuff in here. So I would just peruse this. This one's a really nice one because, you know, people are driven by video and image. So this is a nice call out with a nice, big, tall, long image. And then they've got business basics in here as well. So they've got some email signatures, business cards that you could potentially take and use however. So definitely want to call that out. And then collections. Collections is the last one we're going to do, and then I'm going to give you the social media stuff. So collections, you've got Pivot Ahead. How many of you have been in Pivot Ahead? Pivot Ahead is something you want to stay connected with, because these are I call these marketing nuggets, because what you can do is you can send these out in terms of just reinforcing, hey, I'm here, I'm out here, top of mind. So like this one, there's a bingo version, a quarantine bingo. So that would be fun to do. Here was another one, house hunting with Riley, if you want to have some sort of game. Anatomy of a perfect home, that's pretty cool. So these are just really fun marketing things that you could put out. Obviously tweak first, then and definitely make sure you're branding it back to yourself. And so this one is a really cool one where hopefully it'll pop up soon. There we go. So then it just has daily tips. You can edit this however you want. But it's really a cool graphic that you can, manipulate however you want. And you could even change, the schematics of it. So it's really just an interactive, fun little piece that you could do in a post, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, whatever it is. So that's just a fun little thing. Yes, no, maybe. And then one more, and then we'll get into, and then the other one that I like is new designs. So I love looking at these periodically. If you haven't, it would be a great opportunity. Definitely holidays. So Women's History Month, they've got little things call out. So it keeps you up to date in terms of what's going on in the world, that you can make sure that, again, top of mind in your marketing strategy to, employee appreciations, whatever it is. You just go through here and see what templates are good. This will probably be good work. You could potentially send that out. Let's say you're working on a deal and one of your vendors stands out, and then maybe you want to send kudos to the vendor and then tag that vendor. And then you could send that out, basically a video testimonial to the vendor and what he or she did, tag them, and then you're getting more exposure because you're tagging them, and the people that are following them are then coming back to you. So that's just a way to just, keep that business moving, keeping that, two-way connection. So just some, things that you may want to consider. I'm not trying to add anything to anybody's plate, but just, things that you may want to consider. So thoughts about that?
Love ideation. Things to consider are fantastic. Thank you.
Kaylani, did you have something or no, or just?
No, that was the great idea, that last little nugget that you shared. Sending the kudos and getting the vendors and tagging them. That's amazing.
Good. Okay. So now let's go to, and I think I saved them in my favorites. I think let's see. Okay, so where did I? Let's see. Oh, here they go. So first one. So let me put this in the chat. I'm going to copy this. Here's that link. And then I'm going to open up the other one. This is the other one. And then I'm going to copy that and put that in the chat as well. Okay, so we'll just stick with this one. So last time it was asked about social media sizing images. So this is Sprout Social. So this is a great website that shows you, it was last updated, so it's very current, on February 16th. And so this one, you just kind of scroll down, people don't read, they skim. So we're good skimming. So now we're in Facebook. Then it tells you the profile picture, recommended size, desktop, guidelines for pixel, maxification, if that's a word, business page, guidelines, photo. And then also I did a PDF version. So I will get that to you as well. But what I did is, I don't know if this one has it on here, but what I did is a cut and paste. I found one that I liked. Hold on, let me see if I can find it really quick. Let me see. I don't think I can put my hands on it really quickly, but what I did for you all is I did I created essentially a PDF version. So I'll find it and get it back to you. But this one is also, this is Falcon, and they pretty much did the same thing where they did, Facebook cover, the link, event images, videos, then they did a tip, and then they did the same thing for Instagram in terms of Insta, you know, all of the stuff that you would need. So then Insta stories, the photos, the profile, they did the maximum. So that should be very helpful for you that if you want that. And then the other one that I can't put my hands on is, like I said, it's like a really short cheat sheet version. Like it's a one pager where it has all of them on there with images. So I created that for you and I will get that for you soon. So that's kind of the tips for today. Comments, questions, anything, clarity, issues. And then I can also tell you what we're going to talk about next week. No questions? Nope. Okay, so next week we're going to cover the listing and buyer presentation, and then safety protocols in terms of, you know, getting the word out about you being in compliance, being safe, and then some other call outs as it relates to newsletters. So we're going to focus on those specifically and break them down and give you tips and tricks for those specific categories. So is there anything that we didn't cover these next 2 weeks, or excuse me, these last 2 sessions, and or something that you want to make sure that we cover for next week? Is there anything you want to add to make sure we cover for next week outside of the listing, buyer presentation, you know, selling safely? Anything else that you want us to cover? Your wish list.
My wish list has more to do outside of the topic, but kind of with it is with the smart plans.
Okay.
I'm really being able to tailor the smart plans with more of my branding, and
Okay.
then be able to, I've been playing with them. So they're a little bit off this, but if you were to offer that, that would be really awesome.
Okay.
I don't
So
think
what I'll do is, before we get started, kind of like I do like a little commercial time, if you will, I just will add a couple of those. Would that work, Teresa?
that'd be great.
Okay, all right. I'll just go down the road or down the road. Lisa, do you have anything that we haven't talked about that you want to see incorporated next week?
No, I'm enjoying what we've got, and I like the small nuggets. If you give too much, I can't absorb it. So
Okay,
the little pieces are good.
awesome, good. Kaylani, you want to give yours?
I don't know if it's possible, but to do like a any tips for doing a Facebook Live while you're doing an open house?
Okay. So what I'll do is both days, on one day, I'll do like a little infomercial time about smart plans specifically and the tips. And then the next day, I'll do the Facebook Live tips. Does that work?
Yes.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks, ladies. I appreciate you being here, and those that were watching via Facebook Live, thank you so much. And we will see you next week, Tuesday.
Thank you.
Bye. Aloha.
Thank you.